What is going on? It's that time of the week again where we make our picks, our predictions, break down the card. And this week we've got a pay per view UFC 315. They're back in Canada. Crazy. We got some people in the chat early. We got Nick, Sean, who did very well last week on Tapology, and Tress. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. How's everybody feeling? Let me know your guys' picks as well in the comments below. Let's get into it though. Our first fight of the night will be Brad Katona versus Beksak Almakhan. It was a bantamweight fight. Brad Katona is 14-4. He is 3-2 in his last five, plus 150 as the underdog. 33 years old. 5'6", 64.5-inch reach. Beksak Almakhan, 11-2. He is 4-1 in his last five. Minus 180 is the favorite. 27 years old, 5'7", 68-inch reach. Brad Katona, I think he won the Ultimate Fighter to get back into the UFC. Had that pretty damn good fight with Cody Gibson. Lost to Garrett Armfield, win against Jesse Butler, and then he lost to Gene Matsumoto. Beksak Almakhan, though, on a good win streak in the Kazakhstan regionals. And then he fought Umar on like short notice and gave Umar a lot of problems. Showed that he's pretty good at everywhere that the fight is going to take place. Brad Katona can make this fight scrappy. Not knowing too much about Beksak heading into the UFC, all we really have is that one fight with Umar, in which he looked pretty good in a loss. I think it's pretty clear he's going to get the win here. If there was going to be a KO, I would probably go in the second round. But for all intents and purposes of this show, I will be picking Almakhan by decision. Where you're missing out on expanding your audience if you don't cover boxing. Yeah, I'm just not, I'm not gonna lie to the people. I like MMA, I like kickboxing. These are my two favorite combat sports. Muay Thai, I don't know a lot about, but I'm not going to just get up here and talk about boxing that I don't follow heavily or really care that much about. Katona loses. Yeah, that's where I'm going. Like I said, he can make the fight scrappy. Brad Katona gets a lot of crap because, the way he carries himself, he's very confident and decent on the mic, kind of brash, but Beksak Almakhan showed me a lot in his loss to Umar, which was actually quite some time ago. Let me see. Yeah, a year and 2 months ago since the last time we saw him in the octagon. I guess it's good that he is the curtain jerker of this pay-per-view card, but he gets crap because SBG team is junk. Damn. Shots fired. Let's go to the next one. It is Daniel Santos versus Yong Lee. This is a featherweight match. Daniel Santos, 11-2. He is 4-1 in his last five on a 2-fight winning streak. 30 years old, 5'7", 67-inch reach. There's no odds on Tapology for this one. Lee is 11-2. He is 4-1 in his last five. Was on a 4-fight winning streak in his last five till he lost by KO to Hyder Emil 9 months ago. In my opinion, not the worst loss. 29 years old, 5'10", and 73-inch reach. Despite having, Jiang Lee has, 3 inches of height, 3 inches of reach on Daniel Santos, but his UFC competition, like Blake Builder, Blake Builder is a pretty damn good fighter. Yeza, I haven't even seen him fight, I don't think, since that fight. You can see that 62% of Tapology is going to pick Santos in this one. I tend to agree with them. I think that Daniel Santos has fought the better guys. If we take a look at his record, Johnny Munoz Jr., John Castaneda, who, again, and I don't think these guys are like the best UFC competition, but even being able to knock John Castaneda out, I think is pretty commendable. His loss was to Julio Arce 3 years ago. Hasn't been very active. I would say one thing going for Lee in this fight is that he's just been a lot more active over the last few years, having 2 fights within the span of a year. Um, Now going up against Daniel Santos. I don't know much about either of these fighters. I've seen these guys fight quite a bit of times, but just can't put the face to memory at this point. Um, I'm picking Daniel Santos by decision. I think that he's got just a better competition on his record. Basically, just basing my pick off of that. Let me know who you guys are interested in, or who you guys are going to pick in this one. The next fight will be Marc Andre Barriault at middleweight. Marc Andre Barriault on a 3-fight losing streak. Before that, he won 2. 16-9 in his overall record, minus 155 as the favorite. He is from Canada, 6'1", 74-inch reach. Bruno Silva, talk about losing streaks. Bruno Silva on a 4-fight losing streak, 23-12, plus 130 as the underdog. He is 35, 6 foot, and 74-inch reach as well. So Bruno Silva at one point looked like a pretty damn good prospect. They matched him up with Alex Pereira pretty early in Pereira's run, and it was a hell of a fight. So we were kind of thinking, oh, you know what, Bruno Silva, this guy's not bad. But since then, I mean, his last win was the Brad Tavares, who just got released by the UFC 2 years ago. He's been pretty active since then, losing by sub to Brendan Allen, loses the decision to Chara Bullet, lost to Chris Weidman via eye poke, and then he lost to Ismail Narudiev 6 months ago. On the other side, Andre Barriault, I mean, kind of really fought everybody in and around his ranking at middleweight. His 3-fight losing streak consists of Chris Curtis, split decision, Joe Pyfer, he got knocked out by, and then Stoltzfus, he got knocked out by. So the odds are reasonable here. 2 guys on pretty big losing streaks. I haven't really seen much of the Bruno Silva that took Alex Pereira, to decision ever since he fought him. And Marc Andre Barriault is a guy who has a lot of power, comes out swinging, always in a pretty good fight, has some grappling ability. Bruno Silva is not a guy that I see with much grappling ability, tends to kind of just lay on his back when he gets taken down. Decent stand-up. But again, it's just like, even when he fought Chris Weidman, I was like, should be able to knock Chris Weidman out. And the fight was very competitive up until Weidman raked poor Bruno Silva's eyes. So I'm going to be picking Marc Andre in this fight. I think he's just a little more well-rounded. But I don't think that, discrediting the Brendan Allen and Chara Bullet losses on Bruno Silva's record, those are tough guys in the division. And Marc Andre taking Chris Curtis to a split, but getting knocked out in his last 2 fights is not good. Also, he just got knocked out 6 months ago. This is the right amount of time to take off, in my opinion, for a knockout loss. So you could see, if you were going to pick Bruno Silva, I'd pick him by knockout, probably in the first round. I think that's his best chance to get this done. Otherwise, I see Marc Andre kind of just winning the fight over the distance, if not even getting an early stoppage himself. But Bruno Silva is not the kind of guy to just get flatline knocked out in the way that Marc Andre is. So I will pick Marc Andre Barriault, but if you were going to pick Bruno Silva, I would pick the knockout because, again, Marc Andre getting knocked out in his last 2 fights isn't a great look on his end. Next fight will be Navajo Sterling versus Ivan Erslan. This fight is taking place at light heavyweight. Navajo Sterling 6-0, minus 290 as the favorite. He is 27, 6'4", 79-inch reach. Trains with City Kickboxing. He is out of New Zealand. Ivan Erslan 14-4. He is 2-3 in his last 5, plus 235 as the underdog. He is 33 years old, 6'2", 72-inch reach. Ivan Erslan. The only reason I know who this man is because he fought Jan Cutelaba 7 months ago, and I picked Cutelaba to beat him. I picked Erslan to beat Cutelaba because Jan Cutelaba, who is actually fighting up the card, is the kind of guy that he loses a lot, and then you kind of are like, okay, like he's washed, I'm done with him, and then he just gets a win. So this was during that time. So it was a hard fought decision win. Went to a split. Before that, he was fighting in KSW, which I rate pretty highly. Getting knockouts in KSW. Um, Navajo Sterling, on the other side, is a guy who fought for Hex, but got into the UFC after getting a knockout in the Contender Series. Then he went to decision with Tuco Tacos 4 months ago, and even I've never really thought too much of the prospects of Navajo Sterling, the 27-year-old. Um, Even in his fight on Contender Series, where he did end up getting a knockout, the fight just wasn't that great up until the knockout happened. And then in his last fight, the decision win, I just kind of thought there was a lot to be desired there. So I think Ivan Erslan is definitely, obviously clearly more experienced, is willing to get into a scrappy fight. I do just think that the technical ability, that city kickboxing style that they have over there is going to grant Navajo Sterling the edge in this fight. I do have him by decision because I am just personally not entirely super confident in Navajo Sterling's abilities. Tuco Taco's not the best fighter. Ivan Erslan, I'm not saying is the best fighter either, but I I I don't think Navajo Sterling gets a knockout in this fight. Now, again, he is still a developing talent. They obviously want to give him a good showcase in the prelims of this fight card, putting him up against, a guy who lost to Ion Cutelaba. So I will be rooting for Ivan Erslan in this fight, but I do think Navajo Sterling has enough ability and is progressing enough that he'll probably get the W in this one by decision. Good to see B. How are you doing? Good to see you. Um, our next fight will be Modestas Bukauskas versus Ion Cutelaba at light heavyweight. Modestas 17-6. He is 4-1 in his last five. Plus 100. This is basically a pick'em here. He is 31 years old, 6'3", 78-inch reach. Ion Cutelaba 19-10-1. Jeez. 3-2 in his last five. From Moldova, 31 years old, 6'1", 75-inch reach. Modestas Bukauskas is a guy who kind of looked really good coming into the UFC. Then he had some decision wins over Pedro and Puaga. Gets knocked out by Vitor Petrino a year and a half ago. Since then, he had a great fight with Marcin Prachnio, and then he knocks out Rafael Sequeira. And this fight 2 months ago, I remember because I was fading Modestas hard in this fight because Rafael was on a big knockout streak on the regional, and I never really rated him highly, but man, he just kind of made it look easy against Rafael, which really surprised me. Ion Cutelaba, again, we already kind of talked about him. A guy who loses a lot, looks really bad in a fight, and then he'll knock out a guy like Tanner Boser, lose to Felipe Lins, get the split decision over Ivan Erslan, and then take out the prospect Ibo Aslan with an arm triangle. Yeah, so you never really know what you're gonna get with Ion Cutelaba. This being a pick'em, I wouldn't bet on this fight personally unless you got some good odds on a decision or something like that. For my money, it's going to be Modestas Bukauskas, and I might even pick him by submission because Ion Cutelaba, or sorry, by knockout, because Ion Cutelaba is the kind of guy to get in a firefight sometimes, and then sometimes play it safe. So again, the safer pick here is always going to be Modestas Bukauskas. I'm going to pick him by second round knockout. I think he is finally coming into his own, getting the confidence that he needs to be a contender in this boneyard of light heavyweight. Yeah, give me Modestas Bukauskas by second round KO. The next fight will be Jessica Andrade versus Jasmine Jasdavicius at 125 pounds, women's flyweight. Jessica Andrade is 26-13. She is 2-3 in her last five, plus 230 as the underdog. 33 years old, 5'1", 62-inch reach. Jasmine Jasdavicius on a 4-fight win streak. She is 13-3, minus 280 as the favorite. 36, 5'7", and 68-inch reach. So Look, I mean, if you're gonna pick Jessica Andrade, you got to pick her by early knockout because what's really gonna happen in this fight, from my eye, is Jasmine Jasavicius is gonna grind out the decision or even get a third round TKO against Jessica Andrade, which is the route I'm gonna go. Um, Jessica Andrade, I mean, who doesn't love Jessica Andrade? Longtime veteran of the game, delivered us so many good moments. But I just can't. I can't pick her to win this fight because I really do think Jessica Andrade's days in the UFC are numbered. She's only 33, but man, she's been in so many damn fights. Got outclassed by Natalia Silva, who was fighting up the card, I think in the featured fight. Gets the W over Marina Rodriguez by split, and then knocks out Mackenzie Dern a year and a half ago. But before then, I mean, she was just Jessica Andrade, another one of those people, fighters that will have a good performance once in a while at this stage in their career, but mostly just look really bad. Um, Jazz Vicious is so good with the wrestling. Um, she submitted Priscilla Cachoeira, got a win over Fatima Klein, submits Ariana De Silva Lipsky, and then goes to the decision with Bueno Silva. I'm actually going to change my pick here. I'm going to pick Jasmine by submission in the second round. I do think that there's a chance, like if you're going to bet, I think you bet Jessica Andrade by knockout in your degenerate parlay. But I'm going to go Jazz the Vicious to get the sub here. Just don't have any confidence in Jessica Andrade at this point, and I kind of wish she would like go to bare knuckle or something because just seeing her get washed by people in the UFC is not something I'm a big fan of as somebody who really does like Jessica Andrade. Good to see legendary SS Jackson, my good homie in the chat. So yeah, next fight is Mike Malott versus Charles Radke. At 170, Mike Malott 11-2. Minus 225 as the favorite, 33 years old, 6'1", 73-inch reach. Charles Radke is 10-4, plus 180 as the underdog. 34 years old, 5'9", 72-inch reach. So Radke last got a win over Semmelsberger by KO 6 months ago. Before that, he got knocked out by Carlos Prates. No shame in that. Beating Gilbert Urbina and Mike Mathena Blood Diamond is his UFC run. Mike Malott, 3 years ago, knocks out Mickey Gall, submits Johan Lanus, submits Adam Fugit. But then he has that fight with Neil Magny where he's beating Neil Magny, but just in the last minute of the last round, Neil Magny just kind of pulls a rabbit out of the hat and gets the TKO over Mike Malott. And then he comes back against Trevin Giles, kind of like confidence booster, you know what I'm saying? Get some get back. And he goes to decision with him. I feel like, first of all, Mike Malott has just fought the better guys, Neil Magny being that better guy. I don't really rate Trevin Giles or really any of his other wins as like top guys. Adam Fugit is decent. But Charlie Radke, you can say the same for him. Like he hasn't really had very many good fights. And when he did fight a guy like Carlos Prates, he got knocked out. I'm going Mike Malott in this one. I do think that Charles Radke's game can, because he's a really good wrestler, it can pose some style issues for Mike Malott. But I'm going to go Mike Malott by decision. I think this is at least a better fighter than somebody like Trevin Giles or freaking Mickey Gall. So I'm gonna go decision. I'm gonna say like 29-28 decision win for one Mr. Mike Malott in this fight. Next fight is BSD taking on Kyle Prepolek at 155. Benoit Saint Denis, 3-2 in his last 5. On a 2-fight losing streak, he is 13-3. Look at these odds. Minus 1,050 for Benoit Saint Denis. He is 29 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach. Kyle Prepolek, 18-8. He is 4-1 in his last 5. Plus 600 as the underdog. 35 years old, 5'10". Man, so got to give Kyle Prepolek a lot of credit for taking this fight on short notice after Joel Alvarez pulled out of the fight against Benoit Saint Denis. If you look at Kyle Prepolek's record, I mean, like the last guy he beat was 25-29 at the knockout over him. He's not fighting like all straight up bums. Lost to a guy who was 19-8. So Kyle Prepolek has actually fought in the UFC before. He went 0-2, and then he fought in Bellator. He went 1-1 in Bellator. I mean, there's really no case to make that Kyle Prepolek gets this done. And I thought that Benoit Saint Denis, like, he subbed Ismael Bonfim, knocked out Thiago Moises. I rated that very highly. Knocked out Matt Frevola at a time when Matt Frevola was like doing very well in his career. Not really since then, but since then he loses to Dustin Poirier and Renato Moicano. And it was interesting to see Benoit Saint Denis lose to both those men because like Poirier just kind of bullied him on the feet, and then Moicano bullied him on the ground. So there we have seen the weaknesses of Benoit and kind of his ceiling, I feel like. So really Kyle Prepolek could look at that stuff and maybe formulate a game plan off of it. But I'm picking BSD here. No shocker there. The question is, how does he get it done? His preferred method of victory, I would say, is knockout. He has got some submission skills. Kyle Prepolek hasn't lost by being finished in quite some time. His last loss was 3 years, 2 months ago by decision. I will roll the dice and say that BSD gets a knockout in the second round. What is good, Isha? Good to see you. I was disappointed there was no hit piece. 3 steps ahead. Oh, Canada, this would be a fraud check. Damn. Yeah, I mean, I heard that Benoit didn't accept the fight with a higher ranked lightweight, which is always a bummer to hear. But it is what it is. Not even really sure why the UFC put this fight together. But here we are. And he's a minus 1,050 betting favorite. The next fight is Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva at 125. Alexa Grasso, 16-4-1. She is 3-2-2 or 3-1-1 in her last 5, plus 170 as the underdog. Fighting out of Guadalajara, 31 years old, 5'5", 66-inch reach. Natalia Silva on a crazy win streak right now. 5-fight win streak in her last 5. Minus 205 is the favorite. 28 years old, 5'4", 65-inch reach. I'm really not sure why the odds are structured in the way that they are. Alexa Grasso had a really good fight with Valentina Shevchenko in their second fight that ended in a draw. Before that, she actually submitted Valentina Shevchenko. Before then, I wouldn't say her opponents in the UFC were like of the highest caliber, but she was beating the girls in front of her. And then in the last fight, she kind of just got controlled on the ground. Wasn't able to really do much of anything when Valentina got the takedown. So I don't think, I mean, like Natalia Silva for me isn't, she's very well rounded, but where she impresses me the most is her stand-up game. So I'm looking at these odds. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are they so wide in the favor of Natalia Silva? It is ultimately because, you know, Alexa Grasso just didn't really do much of anything in her last fight. Natalia Silva, I mean, if we look at her wins, though her winning streak is impressive, she beat like Victoria Leonardo, Andrea Lee, Viviane Araújo, who was pretty damn good at the time, and then outclasses Jessica Andrade just 6 months ago. This is a tough fight to pick for me personally because I really like both of these girls. I think Natalia Silva has the makings to be I mean, she's already at top of the division. I think she would be a title challenger, but man, what a sick fight at 125, man. I think either way you go, I can see it. Um, I'm gonna go with Alexa Grasso here to win a decision. This is a different style match than her. I mean, she's literally fought Valentina Shevchenko the last 3 fights she's had. Different style. I mean, it's been 2 years, so I want to see her with a fresh opponent. And this is that person. Is Natty Ice. I'm gonna go Alexa Grasso. I still think she's got it. I don't think she's done. I mean, and both these women are still so young. 31 for Grasso and 28 for Natalia Silva. I wouldn't be surprised if Natalia Silva wins this one, but I am going to go Alexa Grasso here. I have a lot of confidence and faith in her still. Card Loki has some good matchups. Obviously, not the Benoit Saint Denis fight. Yeah, totally. No. From looking through the card, I think that the matchups are Marc Andre versus Bruno Silva. Two guys on long losing streaks, but you're like, damn. Even Jazz the Vicious and Andrade. Like Andrade's on a long losing streak, or lost her last fight, up and down recently. And then Jazz the Vicious on a 4-fight winning streak. You're still like, damn, that's a competitive match, So yeah, I totally agree with that. Next fight will be Jose Aldo versus Amin Zahabi. This is a bantamweight match. Jose Aldo, 32-9, still fucking fighting. He is 3-2 in his last 5. Minus 225 as the favorite. 38 years old, 5'7", 70-inch reach. Amin Zahabi, 12-2. On a 5-fight winning streak in his last 5. Plus 185 as the underdog. Fighting out of Montreal, Quebec. 37 years old, 5'8", 68.5-inch reach. So Amin Zahabi, man, I mean, he's been looking awesome. Knocking out a Richie Lang, getting the win over Ricky Tercios, beating Javid Basharat and Pedro Munoz. Definitely fights that a lot of people didn't think he would be able to win. I think that everybody kind of knew Amin Zahabi was good. But in his last 2 fights, we've been like, damn, dude, this guy is like, he's really good. And he's got power. He's got pretty good ability on the ground. Jose Aldo, obviously, had a weird run at bantamweight. Loses that fight to Marlon Moraes. Gets a title shot with Peter Yan. Loses bad. And then, beats Pedro Munoz. Beats Rob Font. Loses to Merab. Beats Jonathan Martinez. And loses to Mario Bautista in a fight that a lot of people really, really hated. And a lot of fans soured on Mario Bautista after that fight. For me, this is going to be mostly a stand-up fight. And when you have mostly a stand-up fight with a guy like Jose Aldo, you lose. Pretty much every single time. You got to switch it up. I don't think that Amin Zahabi has the wrestling ability of guys like Merab or Peter Yan. I do think there's a chance that Amin Zahabi just clinches Jose Aldo, but I don't think that Amin Zahabi is that kind of guy to just want to go out there and have a stinker. I think he's going to want to have a fun fight, which I think this will be. But I'm going to pick Jose Aldo to get the decision win in this one. Good to see Euphoric Notes. Finally, I catch you live. You're here, my friend. You're here. Yeah, I'm going to go Jose Aldo, though. I think Amin Zahabi could win. But again, I think this is going to basically be just a kickboxing match inside of a cage with 4-ounce gloves. So, can't pick against Jose Aldo in a scenario like that. The next fight is the co-main event. It is Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot. This is for the UFC Flyweight Championship. Valentina Shevchenko, 24-4-1, 3-2-2, or 3-1-1 in her last 5. Minus 155 as the favorite, 37 years old, 5'5", 65.5-inch reach. Manon Fiorot on a long winning streak, undefeated in her last 5, 12-1, plus 130 as the underdog. 35 years old, 5'7", 66-inch reach. I I've been wanting to see this fight for a long time because I've felt Manon Fiorot should have been fighting for the belt quite some time ago in this division. But just, with the trilogy with Alexa Grasso happening, things just haven't really worked out for her to get this fight. I always thought that the striking would be the most interesting aspect of this fight. Both women, very technical, like kind of with the Muay Thai style, more Valentina Shevchenko, but Manon Fiorot is a great kickboxer in her own right. I think that Manon Fiorot is going to be a little faster with the hands. Um, Obviously, where it gets interesting is what is Valentina Shevchenko going to do in the grappling department to stop Manon Fiorot. This fight is great. Over the course of 5 rounds, though, in a championship fight, I have to pick the Chevy truck, Valentina Shevchenko, to continue winning and continue being at the top of this division. Her last fight against Alexa Grasso just kind of made me realize, like, dude, this is Valentina Shevchenko we're talking about here. Like, because I picked her to lose, and I stupidly did that, and so I'm not going to do that in a title fight. I don't think ever again. And maybe when she's like 45, then I'll pick against her. You know what I'm saying? But I got to pick Valentina Shevchenko here. I like I said, I think this is going to be a competitive match. Manon Fiorot definitely has a chance to win, but as far as my picks are concerned, I got to go with Miss Valentina Shevchenko, the Bullet, to get it done, and still be the champion. The next fight, Belal Muhammad versus JDM, Jack Della Maddalena. At 170 pounds, Belal Muhammad on a long winning streak, 24-3, minus 260 as the favorite, 36 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach. Jack Della Maddalena, 17-2 on a long win streak himself, plus 205 as the underdog, 28 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach. This is a very interesting fight. Obviously, Belal. What's that guy's name on the left? Remember the name. Fought and clawed his way to a title shot, and when he finally did get that title shot against Leon Edwards, he kind of blew me away. I was like, damn, like he kind of stopped Leon. Two guys who have kind of a similar style, though, in my opinion. Very technical, good everywhere, but are very patient fighters. Don't take too many when they take a risk. It's a calculated one. They wait for the right time to strike. JDM has been a guy who I've been very high on since he came to the UFC. Let's take a look at his run. Knocking out Danny Roberts, submitting Randy Brown. That was a really good fight. Has that really close decision win against Basil Hafez. And this is when fans started to not be so sure about one Mr. JDM. Beat Kevin Holland by split decision. And then he had that fight with Gilbert Burns, UFC Miami last year. And I thought that Gilbert Burns was about to win until he let JDM get up on the ground, and then he shot for a takedown immediately, and JDM came with the knee, and that finished off Gilbert Burns. So I understand why people would be fading JDM in this fight. And honestly, like, when I try to envision how this fight is going to go, I have a hard time seeing it. I do feel like Belal Muhammad will be able to edge this fight out. And JDM will just kind of be behind because of the style in which Belal fights in. I do really want JDM to get it done for a lot of reasons. He takes a lot more risks than I think in a fight than Belal does. I think he'd just be a more exciting champion overall. Not to mention, if JDM gets this dub, then Islam gets the slide up and be the, maybe contend for a belt up a weight class, and then we get to see Ilya Topuria fight for the lightweight title. But against my better judgment, or sorry, I mean, going with my better judgment here, I'm gonna pick Belal to get it done by decision. Again, I really hope I'm wrong. But yes, those are my picks, man, for the card. Go over them real quick. Let me know your guys' picks for the card. So I have, let's see. I have Almacan by decision. I have Daniel Santos by decision. I've got Marc Andre by decision. I got Navajo Sterling by decision. I've got Modestus Bukauskas by second round KO. I've got Jasmine Jasdavicius by second round submission. I've got Malott by decision. I've got BSD by second round KO. I've got Grasso by decision. Jose Aldo by decision. Shevchenko by decision. And then I'm going to pick Belal Muhammad by decision, unfortunately. That's what I'm going to do. Let me know what your guys' picks are. Or if you think my picks suck, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. I do have a Tapology League. Let me see here. What the hell? Oh, Tapology is going to freak out. Here we go. I have a Tapology League. If you're not in it already, let me show you guys. It is called Combat Casual. Same as our YouTube channel. Nobody new has tried to enter. We already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people have made their picks. Nobody has picked the full card yet. I think that's because some of these people made picks before Joel Alvarez pulled out. There is the link if you guys want to join the Tapology League. Whoever gets the most event wins at the end of the year, I'm going to give $100. So far, that could maybe change. That's the guy that dumped Leon on his dome, right? That's the guy. What's up, Chad King? Good to see you. You mean the one fight a year, Rocky? People need to accept Belal is elite. I know. I'm having a hard time. Was there a poll in the chat for fights? No, there wasn't. I'll be posting this link as well at the end or in the comments after the video ends. But yeah, those are my picks, guys. Tomorrow or maybe the next day we'll do a live chat. And then next week I'm flying to DC. So maybe we'll do a live chat, but I don't know if you'll have as much of my regularly scheduled programming. I'll be in DC for about 10 days or so. So yeah. Can you do a rating on paper for this card? To me, man, it's a 3-fight card. You know, the 2 title fights are obviously very interesting. I like Natalia Silva versus Grasso. That's a really good fight to me. Outside of that, though, like there's not. Though the matchups are good, there's not a lot of name value on this card. There's some Canadians, which is good when you're bringing a fight card to Canada. I'll go with 6.5. 6.5. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna end this stream. We'll do a live chat a little later this week, and then we'll be live, obviously, for the UFC. And during tomorrow's live chat, we'll kind of go over everything of the weekend, see what I'm interested in. I'll let you know what I'm covering. I'll try to get a schedule up. So yeah, thank you all. Like and subscribe, share the video, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you later.